Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lin. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. A decade of digital India, Prime Minister Modi hails a journey of empowerment and technological transformation. The White House applauds India's strategic role in Indo-Pacific, points to Modi-Trump ties amid ongoing trade talks and Quad diplomacy. The Thai Prime Minister, Paetongtarn Shinawatra, has been suspended by a constitutional court amid growing political turmoil and pending a trial. The monsoon intensifies across India. The IMD says heavy rains will persist. Delhi sees the maximum temperature fall to around 32 degrees Celsius, 5 degrees below normal. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday shared a detailed reflection on the completion of 10 years of the Digital India Initiative. In a post on social media, the Prime Minister shared his blog titled, "A Decade of Digital India." The Prime Minister stressed that while previous decades were marked by skepticism about Indians' ability to use technology, this government changed that approach by trusting the citizens' capabilities. The Prime Minister said that when the intent is right, innovation empowers the less empowered. The blog further stated that this belief laid the foundation for Digital India, a mission to democratize access, build an inclusive digital infrastructure and provide opportunities for all. Highlighting the progress made since 2014, Prime Minister Modi noted that in 2014, India had around 25 crore internet connections. Today, that number has grown to over 97 crores. The Prime Minister credited the India Stack, India's digital backbone, for powering platforms like UPI, which handles 100 plus billion transactions every year. India's digital economy is empowering MSMEs and small entrepreneurs like never before. Now let's take a look at the major highlights of the 10 years of India's digital journey. Under Prime Minister's Digital India Initiative, 5G services now cover 95% of India's population, making it one of the fastest rollouts. India offers one of the world's most affordable internet with data priced below 10 rupees per GB, less than China's 32 rupees per GB, and South Africa's 151 rupees per GB. The United States is 513 rupees per GB. India has become the heartbeat of the world's digital payment system, as it now accounts for 50% of the world's real-time digital payments, processing billions of transactions every month. The number of Ayushman Bharat health accounts has exceeded the population of most major countries. Over 780 million Aadhaar accounts have been created so far, laying the foundation for one of the world's largest digital health ecosystems. Over 42 lakh kilometers of optical fiber have been laid across the country, which is 11 times the distance between Earth and the Moon, under initiatives like BharatNet to support connectivity. In digital commerce, over 700,000 sellers have joined the government-backed open network for digital commerce. Within 2 years, the network has enabled participation from kirana stores, artisans and small businesses, surpassing Flipkart's. The network is catching up to global players like eBay. The 1st of July marks the 10th anniversary of Digital India, which is proving to be a milestone in India's progress. Let's look at this report.
Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India is continuously moving towards a developed India. The Digital India campaign has strengthened the resolve in this direction. The Digital India project was launched on 1st July 2015 with the aim of improving the country's digital infrastructure system. In the last 10 years, through Digital India, India has set an example of how the right use of technology can prove to be revolutionary for the development of humanity. Today, instead of cash money in our pockets, we have started keeping money in our mobile wallets, and even the poorest of the poor people are moving ahead digitally. A revolution where technology meets inclusion. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Digital India, initiatives like UPI DBT are bridging gaps, boosting transparency, and bringing governance closer to every citizen, right down to the last mile. Over 44 lakh crore of rupees directly transferred to beneficiaries' accounts, while more than 2,500 times jump has been recorded in UPI transaction volume. PM Modi asserted that powered by the youth of India, we are making remarkable progress in innovation and application of technology. It is also strengthening our efforts to become self-reliant and a global tech powerhouse. Over 17,000 crore UPI transactions have been recorded in just 1 year. Today, India accounts for 49% of global real-time digital payments, a testament to the power of Digital India initiative. Besides, government's program of providing unique identification number or Aadhaar is powering India's digital identity revolution. With over 150 billion authentication transactions, Aadhaar stands as the world's largest digital ID program, empowering 141 crore Indians with a unique 12-digit identity. Also developed under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Digital India is the flagship initiative of DigiLocker. The initiative towards paperless governance, DigiLocker aims at digital empowerment of citizens by providing access to authentic digital documents to citizens' digital document wallet. DigiLocker is a secure cloud-based platform for storage, sharing, and verification of documents and certificates. India is undergoing a remarkable transformation in artificial intelligence driven by the visionary leadership of PM Modi, from setting up AI centers of excellence in premier institutes to developing indigenous models like Bharat Gen, Sarvam 1, Chitralekha, and Everest 1.0. India is making bold strides in the world of AI. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, over the last few years, through Digital India, the country has set an example of how right use of technology can prove to be revolutionary for development of humanity. The flagship program of the Government of India completes 10 years today, focused on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy.
Digital age of India, a new era, a new India. The country once burdened with paper files is now empowered by digital documents. The India that once stood in queues for hours has now become an India where services are accessible with a single click. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Digital India has transformed from a government scheme into a mass movement. Today, the internet is reaching every village, connecting youth to new jobs, making governance more transparent and accountable. There are now more than 1.5 lakh startups and over 100 unicorns in the country. In 2014, there were only 0.84 lakh common service centers, CSCs, in India. Today, that number has grown to over 5.97 lakh, delivering digital services even in the most remote villages. Over 300 government departments now operate on the cloud. There are more than 6,000 government APIs, 1,700 plus services available on the Umang app, and over 7.96 crore users. Thanks to the Prime Minister's efforts, digital technologies are expanding rapidly in governance, making everyday life easier for citizens. India now accounts for 49% of the world's real-time digital transactions, testament to the power, potential, and progress of Digital India. Before 2014, India had 25 crore internet users. Today, that number stands at 97 crore. Mobile phone production units have increased from just 2 in 2014 to over 300 today. The number of broadband subscribers has grown from 6.1 crore in 2014 to 94 crore now. DigiLocker, with over 516 million users, has become the world's largest digital document repository, allowing citizens to access their documents anywhere, anytime. Direct benefit transfers, DBT, have grown more than 90 times over the past decade, ensuring that funds reach their rightful beneficiaries. Under PM Modi's leadership, India now leads the world in real-time payments. In 2024 to 25 alone, transactions worth over 260 lakh crore rupees were processed. UPI is now accepted in more than 7 countries, with transaction volumes increasing over 2,500 times. Getting a digital passport today is as easy as booking a cab. The process has been simplified through the M-Passport Seva app. There are now 429 Post Office Passport Seva Kendra and 523 Passport Seva Kendra across the country. With Prime Minister Modi's visionary leadership, India is keeping pace with the world in this digital age, leading not just in technology adoption, but in digital empowerment.
Well, India's digital payment ecosystem is undergoing a historic transformation with UPI at the forefront. From driving domestic adoption to expanding globally, UPI is reshaping how the world transacts. This report explores India's journey toward a cashless economy and how it's setting new global benchmarks in real-time digital payments.
India's digital payment revolution is setting new global benchmarks. The Unified Payments Interface, or UPI, is now available for transactions in 7 countries, including the UAE, Singapore, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, France, and Mauritius, allowing Indians to make seamless international payments. This expansion is boosting global remittances and strengthening India's position in the global financial ecosystem. The international success of UPI is rooted in India's own digital payment transformation. Since its 2016 launch, UPI has led the move towards a cashless society. As per the ACI Worldwide Report 2024, India accounted for nearly 49% of global real-time payment transactions in 2023. By the end of 2023, over 40% of payments in the country were digital, with UPI having the largest share. UPI was launched to promote Digital India initiative and has seen phenomenal growth. In December 2024, UPI transactions reached 23.25 lakh crore rupees, a sharp rise from 707.93 crore rupees in 2016 and 4.16 lakh crore rupees in 2020. UPI hit a new record in December 2024 with 16,731.01 million transactions. In contrast, there was just 1.99 million in 2016 and 2,234.16 million in 2020, a clear sign of India's digital leap. Bank participation also soared from 35 banks in December 2016 to 207 in 2020 and 641 by December 2024. The success saga goes on. In January 2025 alone, UPI saw over 16.99 billion transactions worth 23.48 lakh crore rupees, highest ever in a single month. India aims to achieve 20,000 crore rupees in cumulative UPI transaction value by the end of financial year 2024-25. This drive also targets digital inclusion in remote areas, enabling small merchants to accept UPI at no extra cost. UPI has transformed India's financial landscape and positioned the nation as a global leader in digital payments. Bureau Report, DD India.
And we are happy to have with us Dr. Rishi Mohan Bhatnagar. He's an expert on information technology and particularly an expert on the Internet of Things. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Bhatnagar. Now, could India's rise have been this fast if it had not been for Digital India highways, as the Prime Minister used to call them, not highways, highways?
See, for a country of, at that time, say around 1.2 billion, which is now 1.4 billion, with limited resources and so much of diversification and so much of diversities, it's not possible if you are not going to use technology.
Yes.
Imagine the number of hospitals, number of doctors, number of paramedical staff you have, and you want to provide the healthcare service. I always keep on saying that, the largest enterprise of the country is the government. And they start thinking about providing services to their customers who are the citizens. The only way they can do it in a country of our size is only through technologies and digitalization. So whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's any kind of thing you can think of, that was something which is very important.
Right.
And the government, it was not that only this government started thinking. Government started thinking, but the implementation scope and the way that has been implemented has been so significantly good that they have been able to achieve in such a short time what we have been able to achieve today.
Indeed, and if we look at India's digital public infrastructure, many people say it is an example for the rest of the developing world. What would you think? I mean, could India make this? I mean, India is the voice of the global south in some opinion centers. This could also be, the digital voice of the global south.
See, I keep on saying this. I was part of the 1st July 2015 program in Pragati Maidan, which is now the Bharat Mandapam.
Yes.
Okay. In the 10 years, the whole building has changed and the whole position, the place has changed. The kind of infrastructure that has been created for the Aadhaar and the complete digital infrastructure that was created. So starting from, there are so much of learning. If you think about the COVID time, when many of the people migrated back to the rural areas, the rural data usage was much more than the urban. That was the proof that the digital BharatNet has been a success. You have been able to provide the digital network to the largest mile, and you have been able to do it. That's why the people who went back from cities to the village, they were able to utilize. So this infrastructure that has been created, that has definitely been used, and I have been in part of number of delegations, number of meetings, and people have been asking us how you have been able to do UPI, how you have been able to do COVID, how you have been able to do so many things, digital locker, and the numbers are saying from 25 crore to 97 crore internet users, broadband users, you name anything, digital lockup, people have been utilizing. Indeed. To be honest, Global South has been waiting for this rise in India because they really wanted to have somebody to talk about them.
All right.
It was India under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister that in the G20, the African continent was given a representation.
Yes, absolutely.
Such kind of steps were there, and to be honest, the digital infrastructure is open. That means that people can use it.
Indeed, when we look at the digital infrastructure and how dependent we are getting on digital, some people may look at this as a vulnerability, for cyber crimes. Could it also be, the opposite? Because of the digital infrastructure, we have a reduced chance of crime.
See, crime of different types.
Yes.
Okay, you have to divide the crimes, and for the new kind of thoughts will arise, and people will start thinking about how to hack and how to do things. I have been part of a number of cybersecurity and cyber crime kind of teams and trying to see what can be done. See, when the infrastructure is going to grow, when the new technologies will come, there will be some different kind of challenges, but definitely it's going to reduce many others. Okay? In my view, the challenge is...
but there's a digital footprint, isn't that? So isn't that an easy way to find out where the money has gone or where to trace things? Is it possible that way?
It's not possible.
Okay, fine.
Okay, there have been so much of restrictions at network level, at data level, and at infrastructure level that it will be not easy. But people will be able to do some kind of hacking, and people will be able to do it. But how can we have these kind of cybersecurity laws, cybersecurity infrastructure prepared? How can we have different kind of firewalls and different kind of tools and products available in the market to ensure that the vulnerability is not there? Okay, because future is going to be cyber.
Indeed, and talking about the future, it's already AI, right?
Yes.
And AI and internet combined, I mean, we're already seeing how it's transforming lives. People are already using a lot of generative AI. What is the future like?
See, the future is something which is,
I mean, with the foundation of Digital India, I'm talking.
See, in 1986, when railways and banking were getting computerized, there were people on the street talking about it should not happen. But nobody could stop it, and today we can think of 30 million jobs, so much of economy, so much of growth because of the computerization. Today we are at the same step where AI is growing, and we are trying to find different ways of technology and supporting. The one thing which I want to tell, while people have started using the Chat GPT, which is based on the Western data set.
Yes.
Similarly, the DeepSeek, which is on the Chinese data set, and if you're going to ask some questions to Chat GPT, it won't answer. Something like, if you're going to ask who started the atomic theory, they'll say there's a person in UK who started it.
Okay.
Now we are working on something called the Bhart GPT.
Great.
Okay. And the Bhart GPT will have our own data sets based on 5 crore plus manuscripts which are digitalized now.
Indeed.
That's one of the steps which was taken last year also in the budget, where a lot of government is going to spend a lot of money on Indian knowledge system, getting the manuscripts digitalized, And with that, if you're going to ask the same question,
Right.
who studied the atomic theory, the answer is going to be, in this shloka, Maharishi Karnad, 2600 years back, talked about what is today called atomic theory. And later it was revised by some of the British or the European scientists. This is a way for us to provide the correct narrative to the world using the new AI tools.
Indeed.
So AI is the future. We are going to see a lot of revolutionary things, transformative things in education, in healthcare, so on and so forth. Recently, there is a lawyer GPT which has been discussed. Because in law, the lawyers are talking about, in this particular time, this has happened and this is how happened.
Right.
It all comes from AI now, and it will help in faster judiciary.
Speed, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speed is of the essence. We leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Rishi Mohan Bhatnagar. Thank you for joining us and
Thank
putting
you.
all this into perspective. And we see that we are the fastest growing large economy. And with digital speed, we are going to be, catching on that speed, definitely.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next story, India's villages, they are experiencing a digital transformation under the Digital India mission. From online certificates to cashless payments and high-speed internet, rural life is becoming smarter and more connected. This report showcases how technology is bridging gaps, empowering citizens and building a stronger foundation for a developed and inclusive India.
Under the Digital India mission, the digital revolution reaching every village has made life easier. Whether it's weather updates, market prices, education, healthcare, agriculture, or banking, everything is just now a click away. The Digital Village program has been instrumental in bringing technology with rural India. The Prime Minister's Digital India initiative has brought significant change. Thanks to UPI, online transactions have become much easier and more accessible. Documents like birth certificates, income certificates, and caste certificates are now available on the Umang app with just one click. Tasks that earlier consumed hours or even an entire day. This transformation has been made possible by 5G connectivity available in 99.6% of India's district and through over 5.7 lakh common service centers.
भारत ने दिखाया है कि कैसे डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी का डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन हर क्षेत्र, हर वर्ग को फायदा पहुंचा रहा है.
The goal of Digital India is to enhance ease of life in rural areas, ensuring the benefits of e-governance reach the people and making rural India digitally empowered and more active. This is the vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to deliver high-speed internet to 2.18 lakh gram panchayats. Over 42 lakh kilometers of optical fiber cables have been laid. The cost of per GB data has dropped from 300 to just 10 rupees. This has improved access to services in rural areas and promoted entrepreneurship in villages. An empowered rural India is laying the foundation for a developed nation. Bureau Report, DD India.
In its new guidelines on financial inclusion and anti-money laundering and terrorist financing measures, the Financial Action Task Force has extensively endorsed India's institutional mechanisms. FATF has emphasized that financial inclusion and the fight against financial crime are mutually supportive. It lauded India's Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile Trinity, as well as digital stacks, customers' due diligence and Financial Stability and Development Council. It cited India's financial inclusion efforts through digital identification and biometric data registries. The global body highlighted India's electronic Know Your Computer, Know Your Customer support via Aadhaar as a good example of collaborative measures that lower compliance costs for regulated entities while improving the outcomes. The FATF document also highlighted ease of compliance for customers in the Indian system. Highlighting India's frameworks, FATF said the country creates a solid institutional framework to coordinate and support its financial inclusion strategy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will begin a 5 nations tour from the 2nd of July till the 9th of July. The tour covers Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Brazil and Namibia. The Prime Minister will undertake the visit to Ghana from July 2nd to 3rd. Now this will be the Prime Minister's first ever bilateral visit to Ghana. The Prime Minister will reach Ghana on Wednesday, giving a major fillip to bilateral ties. Here's Tapas Bhattacharya's report.
Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence, has long been a beacon of stability and progress in West Africa. Formerly known as the Gold Coast, it broke free from British colonial rule in 1957, inspiring liberation movement across Africa. Now, when we look at Ghana, with gold, cocoa and now oil driving its economy, Ghana has actually transformed into one of the region's most dynamic nations. The country takes its name from the ancient Ghana Empire, a medieval trading powerhouse once upon a time. Its modern history is rich and complex, from the rise of the mighty Ashanti Kingdom in the 1700s to the British colonization and multiple Anglo-Ashanti wars. Independence came in 1957, led by Kwame Nkrumah, who helped found the non-alignment movement as well. Though Ghana faced political turbulence in the following decades, democratic stability returned in 1992 with the new constitution and multi-party election. Today, Ghana stands tall, a democratic nation with a booming youth population, thriving cultural heritage and growing global presence. The capital is Accra. The population is 32.1 million and the languages, well, apart from English, there are 11 more local languages that's there. Ghana's journey is one of resilience, pride and promise. With camera person Rakesh and more Mukur Sharma along with my engineer Saurav, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Ghana.
Well, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Tuesday appreciated the UN Security Council's strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack and the need to hold its perpetrators accountable. He expressed this while speaking at the inauguration of the exhibition on the human cost of terrorism at the UN headquarters in New York. Addressing diplomats, senior UN officials and envoys gathered at the venue, Jaishankar called on the international community to stand united against terrorism. He thus stressed the need to call out state-backed terrorism and extremism openly. He also underlined the shared and urgent responsibility of the global community to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations.
Terrorism is one of the gravest threats to humanity. It is the antithesis of everything that the UN stands for: human rights, rules and norms, and how nations should conduct their dealings with each other. When terrorism is supported by a state against a neighbor, when it is fueled by the bigotry of extremism, when it drives a whole host of illegal activities, it is imperative to call it out publicly. And one way of doing so is to display the havoc that it has wreaked on global society. The world must come together on some basic concepts: no impunity to terrorists, no treating them as proxies, and no yielding to nuclear blackmail. Any state sponsorship must be exposed and must be countered. By now, we know well that terrorism anywhere is a threat to peace everywhere.
Dr. Jaishankar later held a conversation with Dev Pragad of Newsweek over a wide range of topics. He shared his perspectives on India's role and position in a multipolar world as a civilizational state, a pluralistic democracy, a talent pool, a diplomatic bridge, and a voice of the global south.
These are not the easiest times in the world, but if you ask yourself, okay, how many countries are able to pick up the phone and talk to Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Iran, or the global north and global south? I would suggest to you there are not that many. And the fact that we are, a political democracy, a market economy, a pluralistic society, sort of a voice of the global south. But we are not anti-West. We get along, we participate, we attend the G7 meetings. In fact, from here I'm going on to Washington for a meeting of the Quad, and from there I'm going on to a meeting of the BRICS. So I think that should tell you something.
Well, the External Affairs Minister, as he said, will be participating in the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting today. And according to the Ministry of External Affairs, the Quad Foreign Ministers will build upon the discussions held during its last meeting, which took place in Washington on January 21 this year. The MEA in a statement said, and I'm quoting them, they will exchange views on regional and global developments, particularly those concerning the Indo-Pacific, and review the progress made on various Quad initiatives in the run-up to the Quad Leaders Summit, which will be hosted by India. The ministers are also expected to deliberate on new proposals aimed at advancing the shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will host the Quad Leaders Summit later this year, which will bring the US President Donald Trump and Prime Ministers Anthony Albanese of Australia and Shigeru Ishiba of Japan to India. Now, still to come here on DD India News Hour. The United States announces a $510 million sale to Israel of bomb guidance kits and related support. Trump's big beautiful bill continues to divide his traditional support base. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to visit the White House next week. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Now some weather-related news from India. The monsoon has swept across the entire country. The Meteorological Department has confirmed that active monsoon conditions will persist across large swathes of northwest, central and east India over the week, with in fact heavy rainfall expected to continue. So in the national capital, the season's widespread showers, they have provided a welcome respite from the oppressive humidity, bringing down temperatures. In fact, the maximum temperature had come down to 32.8 degrees Celsius. That's 5 degrees below normal. The IMD has issued a yellow alert for the national capital, forecasting light to moderate rainfall to continue until July 5. While the rainfall has brought relief from the sweltering heat, it has also triggered flash floods and landslides, particularly in the hill states, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Incessant rains, they have in the last 72 hours wreaked havoc in the Himalayan state of Himachal Pradesh. Worst hit, in fact, is the Mandi district on the banks of the river Beas, where 4 incidents of cloudburst have been reported last night. Now, due to the incessant rainfall, the Beas River is experiencing severe flooding. The India Meteorological Department has issued a red alert in Himachal Pradesh. Our correspondent Muskan is joining us from Himachal Pradesh. Muskan and Shimla, yes. Muskan, keeping the IMD alerts in mind, what measures are in place, in fact, from the administration to minimize the adverse impact of cloudbursts and the like?
See, Macklin, the monsoon has begun in the state and it is already turning into a nightmare already. And the heavy rainfall has created a havoc in Mandi. Mandi is the only district which has suffered the most damage till now. In the last 48 hours, there have been incidents of 3 cloudbursts, 1 in Karsog area. 4 deaths have been reported and 16 people are still missing and almost 99 people are rescued. NDRF and SDRF team are on the spot and they are trying to rescue people. The water levels currently in the districts are flowing over the capacity. So they have advised people to evacuate the area and to leave their homes, and they are trying to take people to a much safer place. And the IMD has issued an alert for flash flood and heavy rain in the next 48 hours, which include Shimla, Mandi, Solan, Chamba, Kangra and Sirmaur. So the next 48 hours going to be very crucial for Mandi. Though the NDRF and SDRF team has also evacuated the Mandi main market area. So it is a concerning matter that the water levels are reaching into the city right now. So people are advised not to go near the water bodies, and though there are no tourists which are reported to be stuck in there, and the locals are there in the district, so they are advised not to go in the areas which are landslide prone or near the water bodies.
Indeed, and also people may be wanting to leave Himachal Pradesh during this time for safer places. So, I mean, are there transport arrangements in place for people who would want to move?
See, the 4 national highways were affected before, but now the weather is like turning into a favor right now. The rain has stopped. So the 3 national highways are currently working, have been through. So the people who want to leave the state can leave. There is a little issue on the Shimla-Chandigarh National Highway. There is a place called as Chucky Mode. And due to the national highway which is constructed, so there are multiple landslide incidents that occur on that national highway. But the JCB machines are deployed there. The NDRF and SDRF team are there. Administration is on high alert and they are making sure that nobody gets struck. Tourists can return back to their homes safely.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Muskan, for joining us from Himachal Pradesh. Now, moving on. The White House has described India as a strategic ally, adding that President Donald Trump shares a very good relationship with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Negotiators from more than a dozen major U.S. trading partners are rushing to reach agreements with the United States. The White House has noted that the trade deal is close to completion with India.
US President Donald Trump said Monday that he was willing to impose a higher tariff rate on Japan, blaming the salvo on Japan's refusal to accept US rice exports. Trump's comments came after his top economic advisor separately signaled plans to finalize deals with other nations in coming days. Nations across the globe are scrambling to have trade deals finalized with the US before July 9th. Canada scrapped its digital services tax on US tech companies just hours before it was set to start. White House said Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney had caved to President Donald Trump, adding that every nation needs a good trade relationship with the United States.
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. And President Trump knows how to negotiate, and he knows that he is governing the best country and the best economy in this world, on this planet. And every country on the planet needs to have good trade relationships with the United States. And it was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax. That would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States. The President made his position quite clear to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister called the President last night to let the President know that he would be dropping that tax, which is a big victory for our tech companies and our American workers here at home.
The European Union also signaled it was willing to accept a 10% universal tariff on many of its exports, but sought exemptions for pharmaceuticals, alcohol, semiconductors, and commercial aircrafts as part of the trade deal. The EU is also seeking quotas and exemptions to lower duties on autos, steel, and aluminium. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt described India as a strategic ally, adding that President Donald Trump shares a very good relationship with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and noted that the trade deal is close to completion.
India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia Pacific, and the President has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that.
Trump said last week that his administration would send letters to a number of countries notifying them of their higher tariff rates before July 9th, when tariff rates are scheduled to revert from a temporary 10% level to his suspended rates of 11% to 50% announced on April 2nd. Bureau Report, DD India.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday signed an executive order lifting U.S. sanctions on Syria, ending the country's isolation from the global financial system. Trump on Monday formally dismantled U.S. sanctions against Syria, hoping to reintegrate the conflict-battered country into the global economy as Israel eyes ties with its new leadership. Now, the decision follows Trump's earlier announcement in May that he wanted to ease sanctions to help Syria rebuild after its long civil war. The White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said that Trump's move is aimed at creating a path to prosperity and peace for Syria. However, the order keeps in place sanctions against Syria's former president Bashar al-Assad and his close associates, as well as human rights violators, that is, and drug traffickers, ISIS members, and Iranian-backed groups. The new order also officially ends the national emergency declared in 2004, which had imposed sweeping sanctions on key Syrian institutions, including its central bank. Syria's foreign minister, Asad al-Shibhani, has welcomed this move, saying that it would open the door to long-awaited reconstruction and development. The United States has announced a $510 million sale to Israel of bomb guidance kits and related support. The proposed sale will enhance Israel's capability to meet current and future threats by improving its ability to defend Israel's borders, vital infrastructure, and population centers. The State Department approved the possible sale, and DSCA has also provided the required notification to the U.S. Congress, which still needs to sign off on the transaction. The arms sale announcement came ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to the White House next week for talks with President Trump. It will be Netanyahu's third since President Trump returned to power in January. Now, Netanyahu has become the first foreign leader to visit Trump in his second term in February, when the U.S. president had surprised him by suddenly announcing a plan for the United States to take over Gaza. Now, the Israeli premier, he visited again in April, and he'll be visiting again on July 7. It comes after Trump said that he had hoped for a truce in the Palestinian territory within a week. Also, Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer is due to visit the White House this week for talks to lay the ground for Netanyahu's visit.
This administration is in constant communication with Israeli leadership, and the president himself speaks frequently, as you know, to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But this has been a priority for the president since he took office, to end this brutal war in Gaza. It is because of this president that humanitarian aid is being brought into the region. It's heartbreaking to see the images that have come out from both Israel and Gaza throughout this war, and the president wants to see it end. He wants to save lives, and however, the main priority for the president also remains to bring all of the hostages home out of Gaza.
In the United States, voting will take place to pass President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill to extend his expiring first-term tax cuts at a cost of $4.5 trillion US. The package is expected to slash social welfare programs and add $3 trillion to the national debt. Trump wants the bill to boost military spending and fund his plans for unprecedented mass deportations and border security. But senators eyeing 2026 midterm congressional elections are divided over savings that would strip around $1 trillion in subsidized health care from millions of the poorest of Americans and add more than $3.3 trillion to the nation's already yawning budget deficits over a decade. Trump has meanwhile said that failure to pass this spending bill means a whopping 68% tax increase. However, approval by the Senate is only half of the battle, as the 940-page text will then have to pass a separate vote in the House of Representatives, while several rebels in the slim Republican majority are threatening to oppose it. Thailand's Constitutional Court has suspended the Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra on Tuesday pending a dismissal case, escalating political turmoil. The move follows a leaked call with Cambodia's Hun Sen, sparking outrage and coalition fractures. Thailand's Deputy Prime Minister Zhuangrung Ruangkit will be the caretaker Prime Minister after the Prime Minister's suspension. The leaked call with the veteran Cambodian politician triggered domestic outrage and has left Phethontha's coalition with a razor-thin majority, with a key party abandoning the alliance. During a June 15 call intended to diffuse escalating border tensions with Cambodia, Phethontha had kowtowed before Hun Sen, at least that's what it appears, and criticized the Thai army commander, a red line in a country where the military has significant clout. And still to come here on DD India News Hour. Morgan Stanley reaffirms India's GDP growth is the fastest among large countries. In its 8 years since GST, there's been plenty of developments since the GST, India's biggest tax reform. World number one, Yannick Sinner begins his bid for a maiden Wimbledon title.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lin. India is projected to continue being the fastest growing economy among all countries. So the latest report from Morgan Stanley's Global Investment Committee projects India's real GDP growth at 5.9% in 2025 and at 6.4% in 2026, reaffirming it as the fastest growing large economy. The report also noted that a trade shock is likely to affect multiple economies at the same time, pushing most of them below their potential growth levels. Global real GDP is expected to grow and it's projected to decline from 3.5% in 2024 to 2.5% in 2025. So it is declining. The report highlights positive momentum in the Asia Pacific and emerging markets through mid-2026, maintaining an overweight stance on India, Singapore, the UAE, due to reforms and strong domestic growth. Despite high valuations, India's equities are supported by robust retail and institutional investment flows. It's been 8 years since the implementation of GST, Goods and Services Tax, which is the country's biggest tax reform since independence. The idea was first envisioned, in fact, in the year 2000 by the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But it took 17 years to come into fruition. Now, after building consensus during the Modi government's first term, GST was finally rolled out at midnight on the 1st of July 2017. Over these 8 years, GST has significantly contributed to simplifying business operations across the country. Here's Ajay Mishra's report.
GST, the biggest tax reform in India since independence, has completed a successful 8 years journey. Introduced by the Narendra Modi government on the 1st of July back in the year 2017, the reform aimed to simplify doing business by unifying over 17 different taxes under a single system. This landmark move fulfilled the vision of one nation, one tax, one market. As a key player of Digital India, GST has played a vital role in bringing small and medium enterprises into the mainstream economy. The service sector and MSMEs have specially benefited with improved ease of doing business. Despite some initial technical challenges, GST collections have steadily increased since COVID-19 pandemic, reflecting its growing efficiency and acceptance.
ये GST काउंसिल केंद्र और राज्य ने मिलकर के उन व्यवस्थाओं को विकसित किया है जिसमें गरीबों के लिए जो पहले उपलब्ध सेवाएं थी उन सारी सेवाओं को बरकरार रखा है दल कोई भी हो, सरकार कहीं की भी हो, गरीबों के प्रति संवेदनशीलता इस जीएसटी के साथ जुड़े हुए सब लोगों ने समान रूप से उसकी चिंता की है.
After the implementation of GST, the number of taxpayers in the country has more than doubled. Before 2017, only 65 lakh people were connected to the VAT system in the country, whereas after the implementation of GST, 80 lakh new taxpayers have been added to its ambit. The average monthly GST collection has increased from 90,000 crore rupees in 2017 to more than 2 lakh crore rupees in May 2025. The average GST rate has also decreased from 15.3% before 2017 to 12.2% in 2023. The trade between states has now increased from 23.5% of the GDP to 35%. Experts believe that the major steps taken in the last 11 years to simplify business, including GST, have benefited both the industry and the consumers. Currently, petroleum, alcohol, and tobacco remain outside the scope of GST. Most of the initial technical flaws have been largely addressed, and the industry is optimistic that a new appellate system for resolving GST related disputes will be introduced soon, further easing the fay for businesses. Ajay Mishra's report for DD India.
The opening round of Wimbledon continues on Tuesday, where the world number one Yannick Sinner begins his bid for a fourth Grand Slam crown. Sinner has never reached a Wimbledon final. The Italian will hope to put that right this time around, having reached the French Open decider for the first time earlier in June, while Novak Djokovic will begin his hunt for a record 25th Grand Slam title when he takes on the Frenchman Alexandre Müller. Now, Djokovic has reached the final for the last 6 Wimbledons, losing the last 2 times, in fact, to Carlos Alcaraz. He has not added to his magnificent Grand Slam collection since 2023 US Open. In women's singles, Barbara Krejcikova has begun her title. In fact, she begins her defense against Alexandra Ila, who became the first Filipino to reach the WTA Tour final last weekend in Eastbourne. Krejcikova defied the odds at Wimbledon last year when she stunned the Grand Slam champions en route to the title as the 31st seed. The world number 2, Coco Gauff, comes in as well, full of confidence after her French Open victory. But the American has yet to go beyond the 4th round at Wimbledon. Some good news from Indonesia for cricket lovers. Now, cricket in Indonesia is gaining popularity. And the Indian expat community there is driving that. They play a lot of cricket. They're playing a big role in promoting the game and also local talent. Here's Chandani Vasandani's report.
Cricket is not the first sport that comes to mind when you think of Indonesia. The country is better known for its love of football, basketball, and world-class badminton champions. But over the last few decades, cricket has been quietly gaining ground on fields like this one. Indonesia's cricket journey began more than 30 years ago, when members of the Indian expat community formed what is now known as the Jakarta Cricket Association. The community has now grown to hundreds of players.
Started back in early 90s. That's where there were a bunch of expats playing cricket out of passion, out of love for the game. And 1992 is when it was formally established in the form of a association where players would be formalized and introduced into the league, and we had a trophy to play for. So virtually, I would say 13 teams times a pool of 20 for each team. We are looking close to a number of between 250 to 300 players who are actively involved in the game.
What began as a social sport among professionals who found themselves working in Indonesia has now evolved into something more inclusive. Local Indonesians are not just watching, they're playing and winning. Helping drive this momentum is the Indonesian Cricket Association.
Yeah, currently the interest of cricket in Indonesia is growing very rapidly, and as we are aware, there is about 200,000 local cricketers in 21 provinces, which is already acknowledged by the International Cricket Council, and makes Indonesia one of the most rapid cricket developing countries from the associates in the East Asia Pacific region.
The results speak for themselves. The Indonesian men and women cricket teams nabbed a gold, 2 silvers, and a bronze at the 2023 Southeast Asian Games. And now some players are setting their sights higher.
Right, so this is, I think, the best time, the best part, and before I get retired. So I hope I can win this, at least this AAP championship. Thank you. For Indonesia.
With strong national teams, the country is now aiming for an Olympic participation. With grassroots support, school programs, and growing national pride, cricket is now firmly part of Indonesia's sporting landscape. From Jakarta, Indonesia, this is Chandni Vasandani for DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.